Dermot Shea, Commissioner, how are you, sir, today?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
You've got the last time.
That's not true, but
Yeah. Best under the circumstances, right?
That's right.
I talked to you 3 weeks ago, March 24th. Wow, has that been a hard 3 weeks? That's been something for you, hasn't it?
It's been in the eye of the storm. It's been it's for the whole country certainly, but I mean, I anticipated that this would run through the whole country after what we first saw. I mean, I guess hasn't really happened that way. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we, with the, for whatever reason, population and density, and maybe being one of the earlier spots, not the earliest, but maybe we'll have it worse than anyone, and I guess that would be a good thing, that it doesn't hit the country as bad as it possibly could. But it's been a crazy month.
You've lost, I think, 27 members of the New York. 27.
Yep.
If you look at the people who have died, it's almost like a cross section of the department, isn't it?
Yeah, we've lost six sworn on the uniform side, 5 detectives and a police officer. We've lost 5 auxiliary officers. So these, Chuck, are just, we put them through training, if you're familiar with our auxiliary police program, but they don't receive money. They donate their time. But what's interesting with, the last auxiliary we lost was, he was an older gentleman. I want to say he was 62 or 72. I apologize. And when we talked about him internally, you have to show up to work to be in the program. So we count your hours, and that goes towards whether you get promotions and you stay an auxiliary officer. Again, these are not paid people. They're people that are just donating because they want to do the right thing in their communities. And when you added up how much this guy showed up to work, he basically worked more than some of our police officers in terms of hours. He essentially worked a full job and then some amount of hours. It's just an incredible story within a terrible story so we have 6 sworn, 5 auxiliaries, and then we have 16 civilian members of the department, from cleaners to traffic agents to school safety officers, agents that are in the schools, to 3 9/11 operators. It really is a cross section.
When people look at New York City and they look at the department, you are in the eye of the storm, and so everybody is looking to New York City to what we can learn. Do you feel like the department is in the same place as the city in terms of plateauing, or do you feel like you're still going to experience continued casualties?
Well, that's like 3 different questions. I definitely think that we've hit the plateau and are coming down, but it's a slow journey down. We peaked at 7,155 uniform members sick, 7,155. We're about a little over 6,000 right now. So it's not like it's dropping, Chuck. 700 a day are coming back to work. It's still, people are going out sick with this. Thankfully, at this point, we've had now 6 days in a row, I think, of people coming back to work in greater numbers than are going out sick. So the number overall is coming down, but it's not coming down fast. It's coming down slowly, and what I keep warning my people are, it's still very easy for you to get sick. And it doesn't really matter to your family if you get sick at the end of this or the beginning. It could be just as monumental. So we really need to maintain vigilance. And your last question there was, unfortunately, I think, God willing, I'm wrong, but I think we're going to lose other people. Just when you look at how many people we have in the hospital and how many people we still have out sick, and you look at I happen to know for a fact that there's some people in real bad shape that need prayers. So we have people that have been on ventilators for extended period of time, both uniform and civilian. So it's, we saw that dramatic climb. And like the city and like the hospitals, our job is going the same way, that it's leveled and it's looking better, but that doesn't mean too much when you're the family of somebody that's still in the hospital,
So
you still have to be so vigilant. I mean, Chuck, we've learned so much in terms of just where we were 5 weeks ago to today, in terms of just like society has, operating differently, being spaced out, the masks, we just instituted thermometers this week. There's a lot going on so you just wish you had that defined date at the end, but we're not there yet.
What have you learned about your role as a leader? How have you only started in November? It's like, you didn't really have much on the job training for being commissioner. Obviously, your whole career has prepared you for this, but this is probably had to make you a different kind of leader than you ever probably imagined.
Yeah, I one day maybe. I think, one day you look back at it. I think that, this line of work, I think we're unique people. I remember, Chuck, going to one of these seminars a while back, and there was law enforcement there as well as leaders from other walks of life, I'll put it that way. And there was an exercise taking place one day, and the moderator laughed, and basically what they said was, it's very easy to see the law enforcement people when you do this type of exercise, because they all step forward. Because it was a little bit of a critical crisis. This is what we're used to, I think, never really to this extent, but whether you're talking about blackouts or tragedies where you have, multiple police officers shot, God forbid, or 9/11, these types of events. I mean, this is why we get paid, to deal with events like this and to hold things together and to be organized and to plan for it and to, not spend the first week or two in chaos. Go and revert to your training and carry the city through it. I think that, you learn a lot about a people in times of these types of times. Sometimes good and sometimes bad. Sometimes you're surprised who's shown up, but I could tell you that I've been very lucky here in terms of a tremendous team, pulling together, really from all ranks of this agency. So maybe I'll have a different feeling on it one day, but right now it's about getting the job done and getting the city back, getting our agency through this in one piece. We would have liked to have gotten through this, without losing anyone, but I think that, we're not alone in this. I do think, Chuck, we're playing a large role in this, but the doctors and nurses, this is first and foremost, I think first and foremost, I view it as a health crisis, and the hospitals and the supply chain of the equipment and the medical care is first and foremost, and we play a huge role in that. We really do. But we're there to keep the city together. We're there to make sure that people distance themselves, that people don't take advantage of it, and we're there to make sure that, anything that we can do to assist in any way possible.
Your governor, mayor are talking about a regional approach. They're talking about trying to open up business in some form or another. Can you visualize what that would mean for the department? Can you see the way forward? You're in the fight of your life. New York City's in the fight of their life, but feels like it's coming out of it. We're going to learn a lot from you. What can you tell us about what you see down the road?
Yeah, and it's, we're such a unique city too because of the skies and the density and just what's located here. I think we have to, but I think that, whether you talk to president, the governor, the mayor, other governors, different styles, different messages, but I do think that everyone, for the most part, wants the same thing. They may not always agree on how they say it or how to go about it, but it's about getting back to normal, probably in stages, but as safely as possible. And I think that they would, for the most part, agree with that. I think that, a staggered approach. I do like the analogy that Governor Cuomo uses, and I think it makes sense where you bleed off pressure. You open the valve, but you better be ready to measure and have reliable data and trust, what the data means in terms of, is the infection coming back? Is it spreading? Is there a spike in hospital visits? And you don't want to go too far too soon. So I keep, anytime I think about this, it's what do you open up? And more importantly than that, I think so much of this is going to hinge on the testing and maybe this elusive antibody testing. And I don't know that anyone really completely understands it. I think there's two different types. But if we could get to a place where you can have significant amount of tests that with a high probability would give you assurances that this portion of the public has been exposed and are not as likely to get reinfected. And there's a lot of ifs there. I think that would significantly speed this process up. It would certainly help this agency, but it would help the society, just as well.
Let me ask you something about you. You were one of 5 children. You lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. What about your growing up, your family, prepared you for where you are today and what you're doing?
Wow, that's an interesting one. When I was sworn in, I took the time to write my speech, and I talked about my parents and the values that they taught us, and how much we learned from them, and how to treat people, how to really view the world, Chuck. I think, when you look at it's not so much about the geography or the living arrangements. It's about faith. It's about how to treat people. And I think everything else, you can learn and you can figure out along the way. But you at times like this, you fall back upon, really the values that were bestowed upon you by, and taught to you from an early age. And you certainly need a lot of faith on this in this time. And trying to make sense of this. Well, I don't think there is much making sense out of what's going on right now. You do want to have faith that it's going to get better. I think that's a huge part of leading an agency like this, because you have to take time out to honor those that have fallen. But it's a delicate balance there between, you have to acknowledge them. I would liken it to, and I was never in the military during a time of war, but I guess you probably some similarities here. You have to rally the troops, and you have to give them something to work towards, and you have to pull them along, and you have to show them that as bad as it is right now, we are going to get through this, even though there's a lot of unknowns, and to keep going forward. So it's I don't think you do. I think, you're forged at an early age by those around you, positive role models. In my case, it was my family. And I think that serves you well, in extremely difficult times. You don't have to have all the answers, but you have to be true to yourself. You have to, be respected. I think you have to make decisions, and you have to make the hard calls, and you do the best you can. Different styles of leadership. I don't know that there's any one. My particular would be, I like to trust but verify. I like to know what's going on, and if you need to address something, you address it, but I don't like to suffocate people either. And in this agency, there's an awful lot of moving parts. So with, 56,000 people, with all the interconnections with different agencies, different law enforcement partners offering to help, and keep your sight on moving forward, and keep your sight on the big picture. What's really important for the city.